The fourth challenge is just keeping your reps accountable and having kind of good practice of how they actually insert the data. And I think talking from a director or executive level, it's a catch-22 because your reps don't want to insert data. No one wants to insert data. So you have to make that process really easy and simple. So that way you actually can have a more accurate structure. And I think a couple of concrete examples there. The easiest one is their close date. So if they're not moving the goalposts effectively and there's any close date that's historically in the past, then you're not accurately forecasting because your data is not true, unless obviously the deal is won or lost. One thing that we do on our team is we have a positive negative reinforcement, which for every deal you have a close date in the past from one of our sales syncs, you owe 10 push-ups per deal. So we're either going to have a lot of really buff salespeople or they're going to be motivated to not have a lot of opportunities that are in the past. And it's mainly, again, to keep that forecasting structure in place. Second to that is just, again, getting that further context of and seeing from the rep's perspective of if they're saying, this deal is virtually done, like we're progressing really well, I'm committing this, I'm putting a high probability against this, and then just making sure they're giving you that reasoning. What's the urgency? Where did this come from? Sometimes deals will move fast, sometimes people will talk a big game and then it completely falls through. I think especially for less experienced reps who think every deal is going to close, they need to be able to kind of flag and estimate more conservatively. I think that's another challenge and issue that a lot of organizations run into is they have bloated pipeline with a lack of kind of yes, find the word at the moment, but basically having a method to the madness to be able to frame a particular deal, whether it's a really high likelihood or a really low likelihood. And then outside of all of that, another kind of key area, which is really good to have, and a really good indicator from an executive perspective that you can automate is if they keep kicking the can down the road. And what I mean by that is if a rep is continuously just pushing a deal out and out and out and not killing it, we call that effectively a zombie. And in some cases, it's something that's actually true. This cycle just may be really long. But if there's not a lot of progress and there's not a lot of next steps and it's purely, hey, we're still in red lines and it just dies within kind of with the lawyers, then so be it. But I think that's an area where you want to make sure your pipeline is conservatively estimated against your estimates to actuals. You have good kind of data due diligence amongst your team. And then you have indicators to be able to kind of spot not necessarily bad actors, but folks that are not being true with themselves. And so again, it's something that you at least want the mechanism to then go into that conversation and say, hey, did you realize that you've changed this deal's close date 12 times and the average is 4? Like, this is something that is a better conversation starter than what's the latest and greatest on prospect XY.